Morning, everybody. Welcome to AT&T WNBA All-Star 2021 and the press conference with Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. If you would, please put your phones on vibrate or mute. And we're going to begin with opening remarks from Kathy. When we're done, we will have questions and answer from the floor here at the ARIA. And following that, we will get to a few questions via Zoom. If you would, when we go to that, when a microphone comes to you, raise your hand. Please identify yourself by name and affiliation. Thank you, Kathy.
All right. Thank you, Ron. Hello, everyone. It's great to see you live, some of you and some of you on Zoom. So, thanks for joining today. I'm just going to spend literally 2 minutes. And first, thank you for your ongoing coverage of the WNBA. This has been, the momentum has been, continues to grow. You're a big part of telling the stories of these amazing players and what they're accomplishing both on and off the court. So thank you again for that. So, I was reflecting on the flight here yesterday. It was 2 years ago, almost today, that I was 4 days on the job, got on a plane, stood up in front of a much bigger room, but obviously with COVID protocols, we're a little smaller today. And I stood up here for my first press conference as commissioner, and wow, what a 2 years it has been for both the WNBA and the world. So, but we're looking to the future, and we're really, really excited to be back in Las Vegas in front of some fans later today at the AT&T WNBA 2021 All-Star Game. And I couldn't be more excited to be celebrating our 25th season, celebrating our 1996 Olympic gold medal winning USA women's national team. So all of that to come this afternoon, later this afternoon. But a special thanks to MGM for hosting us. World-class facilities, as you see, will be over at Mandalay Bay, McUltra Arena. Thank you to AT&T, our presenting sponsor for this year's All-Star Game, ESPN as our broadcast partner, our great broadcast partner, and Mountain Dew, who will sponsor the three-point competition at halftime today. And none of this would be possible without the support of all of our partners, and especially special shout out to our WNBA change makers, AT&T, Deloitte, Nike, and we added Google this year. You might have seen that. And, these companies, if you think about it, this was a concept that, we launched when I first came into the league 2 years ago. And these companies have just shown an extraordinary commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion that I had not seen before, particularly in women's sports. So really, really excited to continue to celebrate with those companies and more. And so, it has been a challenging year, and I would be remiss because I come from a family of, my two sisters are nurses. We've got doctors, respiratory therapists, and I would be remiss if I didn't continue to thank our healthcare workers and all the supporting organizations who helped us get to a 99% fully vaccinated rate in this league. It really is a major accomplishment. And, the players really stepped up here and took on the responsibility around their own personal health and got vaccinated. So being back in our arenas with fans, limited, but hopefully coming off the Olympic break, that gets opened up, is a great feeling. I think you'll see a lot of energy in the arena tonight. And we are here to celebrate the best athletes in the world. What better way to send our Olympians off to Tokyo than to have this format this year of Team USA, the All-Stars voted in as Team USA against the Team WNBA. And, we're so excited for this game, but also this as a send-off for these elite athletes to Tokyo. So, and congratulations to all the All-Stars, the women's national team 5x5, the USA 3x3 team is going to be really exciting this year. First time in the Olympics, #1 most popular urban sport globally. So it's going to be a really interesting format to see in Tokyo this year. And then we have many other Olympians who play in the WNBA who will be competing in Tokyo for their national teams, Liz Cambage, Kia Nurse, Jisoo Park, others. So we're really excited for them as well. And then we have a lot of rising stars this year in our All-Star Game. Eight first timers in our as WNBA All-Stars. Benijah Laney from the New York Liberty, really playing great. De'Erica Hamby from the Las Vegas Aces. Satu Sabali from the Dallas Wings, just to name a few of those 8. And just, think about that as the next generation of talent in this league. And I think you would agree that the state of the league is strong from a talent perspective with those players being first-time All-Stars. And this season, I didn't even know this till my team accumulated this data. We've seen incredible buzzer beaters, 11 overtime games. scoring at one of the highest points per game in WNBA history, and record-setting performances. You saw Diana Taurasi hit 9,000 career points. Tina Charles moving into second place for career double-doubles. Sylvia Fowles becoming the WNBA total defensive rebound leader, and Sue Bird, no surprise, becoming the first WNBA player to reach 3,000 assists. And we still have a lot more games to play this season. So really great accomplishment so far. And behind the scenes, we are still working really hard at transforming the league. We've been fortunate to bring on new partners like Google, like Amazon Prime Video is doing their game of the week, and they will have our exciting and inaugural first Commissioner's Cup championship game coming off the Olympic break. So we're excited about that. So thank you to them for stepping up. And congratulations to the Connecticut Sun and Seattle Storm for being the inaugural winners of the Commissioner Cup play in the first half of the season, and they'll compete in that inaugural championship game in Phoenix. So, and after the Olympic break, we're going to continue our 25th anniversary celebrations. We'll have the W25, naming the 25 best players all time in the league. So we'll be out with some more information on that and the voting for that during the Olympic break. And then we'll have some more exciting news during the break and into a very strong finish of the regular season into the playoffs. So, you know, finally, I hope you saw, because I listened to you all, we are updating our media protocols coming out of the Olympic break. You all have been so patient as we've worked through this ongoing, very challenging situation. And so again, thank you. The updates include in-person media access on game days, including interviews, pre-game, on the court, post-game access will also include a mix of in-person and then Zoom interviews. So trying to do as much as we can to get you access to the players and coaches as we come off this Olympic break. But again, thank you to everyone who made All-Star possible today. We're excited to see these world-class athletes take the floor and really compete. I mean, this is going to be a competition between Team USA and Team WNBA. So with that, I would love to take your questions. Thanks for being here.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. We do have two questions lined up to start, and we will begin with, to your right, Kathy, second row.
Yeah, Commissioner Michelle Vogel, ESPN.com. Can you give us a sense you feel good about the individual financial health of each franchise at this point, coming off the difficulties of COVID? And could you also maybe give us the parameters in terms of post-Olympic break, the number of fans, if that'll be a decision each franchise makes, or how that will work?
Thanks, Michelle. It's good to see you live after 18 months of seeing you on Zoom or so. Financial health of our franchises. So, you know, while last year we flipped the business model, you know, around, right? Because no fans, we took on some of the expenses at the league to put on the Wubble in Florida at IMG Academy. So, you know, we're still, you know, in recovery from that and limited fans so far this year. And some markets didn't start with fans, but now all markets have fans. And I think coming off the Olympic break, what we will do is a team still needs to comply with their state and local rules and regulations. You see here in Vegas, there aren't many, but in some cities there still are. And so teams still need to abide by that, but we will open things up with a, you know, close to 100% fully vaccinated league. Again, it's not just players and staff. We feel really good about, you know, number one was player health and safety and that of our staff. And with almost 100% fully vaccinated, we feel good about the data and the readouts. And although obviously fully vaccinated people can still get the virus, you know, I think as a society, we're going to see this evolve into something that we're going to have to live with even as fully vaccinated, and whether there'll be boosters required. So we'll be monitoring all that, Michelle, as we get over the next 3.5, 4 weeks. Obviously, you know, health and safety of our players broadly over in Tokyo is important as well. And so the teams are all already preparing, and we have been for about a month now, as we knew we were going to get to that 99% vaccination rate. We've been preparing to open up for more fans, more courtside seats, you know, because that's the fan experience is so enhanced the closer you are to the court. So that's what we'll be doing. And I expect you'll see a different look in many arenas when we come back off the Olympic break. But again, you know, really proud of the teams and where they are and the strength of the teams. Again, as I said, we have a lot of hard work and transformation, both at the leagues and teams to go coming off this pandemic, but really proud of where we are right now from a team and a league perspective.
Kathy, next question, first row to your left.
Hey, Kathy.
Hey, Doug.
Doug Feinberg, the Associated Press. It's nice to see you in person. And thank you for taking care of the media after the Olympic break to get us to actually see players in person as well. I have two questions about the Commissioner's Cup. The first one is, I believe this year they're making more money for winning it than they do for winning a WNBA championship. And I'm curious if you try to find someone to sponsor the WNBA finals in the financials and to make it more valuable to win that title than the Commissioner's Cup title. And also, I'm just curious if going forward, if you know the Commissioner's Cup is obviously in a good spot right now because the Olympic break come back from it, is there a landing spot for it next year down the road? It'll be All-Star break or whenever to figure out when this thing may have a permanent home, so to speak.
Right, good question. So as you know, we boldly put a $500,000 prize pool for the Commissioner Cup this year. One, we're trying to build this into an asset, into a rivalry setting between Western Conference, Eastern Conference teams. That's all part of the strategy to build rivalries, build household names, grow the game, grow our viewership, grow compelling games and content. And that's what's happened so far this year. So we're pleased with that, but we felt we needed to put a significant prize pool up that the winning team, each player will be awarded $30,000. And then even the runner up will get $10,000 per. So, you know, we didn't do a lot of, let's compare it to the WNBA finals because that's all part of the season and their salary for the season leading into the finals. And yes, there's bonuses for other things like MVP and player, other types of things, not only for the finals, but also opportunities, defensive player of the year, all WNBA team, et cetera. So we kind of look at all of our prize money, bonus money, in addition to player salary, player comp, player benefits, as a holistic thing, not kind of comparing one competition to another. But we really were excited about the ability to pay a significant prize pool. And it was a commitment we made as part of collective bargaining that we would find ways to compensate the players more. And Commissioner's Cup is, a promise around that. As far as the timing next year, so this year it did work with the Olympic break, although obviously our footprint is very challenging. Next year, there'll be a FIBA World Cup on the back end of the season. That's a challenge. So I would expect that we're still going to play the Commissioner Cup competition in the first half of the season, then probably coming off the All-Star break, or maybe integrated with the All-Star break due to the Commissioner Cup championship. But next year has its challenges because it's a FIBA World Cup year. Thanks, Doug. Good to see you.
Our next question will come from your right in the front row.
Hi, Kathy. Annie Costable from the Chicago Sun-Times. Candice Parker became the first WNBA player on 2K this morning. And I wonder if you could speak to the significance for not only Candice, but this league and its growth, seeing a woman on the cover and a player on the cover.
So for people that didn't see, Candice is the first woman ever on the cover of the 2K game this year. It's really, really exciting. And I think it's a signal and a sign of the momentum around our players, our player story. Candice has such a great representative of the league, of what she does in broadcast, of what she does as a mom, so I just think as a role model, I get chills just standing up here talking about her on that cover, the WNBA being on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I walked into an airport and saw that. And I said, how many young girls and young boys will see that and see these role models? So that's why I thanked you all in the beginning about how important it is to give that exposure. So that the next generation, because I'm a huge believer in sports, and Candice has been such a great representative of someone who has gained confidence over her college and then pro career and then into the broadcast world. And so I think it's a signal. I think it's a sign. And I think it's the ability to capitalize on the momentum that a Candice and some of our other household name players bring is really outstanding. And I think the support from the whole ecosystem has been so important here in people thinking, yes, we can put Candice on the cover. Yes, Janae can get her own radio show. Yes, Renee Montgomery can become an owner in the WNBA. So just think about everything that's happened just over the last few months from that perspective. And I think it's a signal that the WNBA is here to stay, and the next 25 years are going to be really interesting. Thank you.
Okay, our next two questions will come from the left. We're going to start in row 2.
Hey, Kathy. David Yapkowitz with the Next. Just to follow up on that a little bit, the new Space Jam comes out later this week featuring both Diana Taurasi and Nneka Ogwumike. This was something that, even when you first started a couple of years ago, we didn't have. Just, what's that significance? How important is that for this next generation of kids, to grow up and see, some of the league's biggest stars represented in off the court media like that?
Yeah, it's a really important point. If I think about in my old life, we used to say you can't be what you can't see. And now, these athletes, these young girls and boys, so it's not just girls, young youth basketball players, youth sports can see, the in Space Jam, in the cover of Slam magazine, in 2K. And also, I think it's been pretty interesting to see a couple of the ads, commercials that have happened, CarMax with Sue Bird and Steph Curry. And how effective that was, and DoorDash with Chennai. So, and State Farm as well with, Sabrina and Chris Paul. So, think of just, again, put all that together and think about the exposure that gives these WNBA players as role models in their communities, in society. And it gets other corporates and other media companies thinking, yes, we need to give that athlete exposure too, because that athlete is elite, is fabulous, is juggling a lot of things. Again, a lot of our players are moms, and they're juggling other jobs and juggling going overseas. So, really important to really highlight their accomplishments, and you name, and I would not have thought 2 years ago when I came into the league, we'd have 2 players headlined with LeBron James in that movie. So that's going to be exciting to see and market off of as well. Thank you.
Kathy, to your left, first row.
Hey, Kathy, Kareem Copeland from the Washington Post. Thanks for
Hey,
taking out the
Kareem,
time.
good to see you.
Nice seeing you. I have a question a little bit about the travel. The last couple of weeks, there's been a little bit of, I guess, a couple of travel issues with teams trying to get around. And I know that's kind of been a little bit of an issue in the past. I'm just curious what the league's perspective is on that, and how do you see it evolving in the future? Is that more of an individual team thing, or is this something that the league looks at as a whole?
Yeah, it's a good question, Kareem. It's something we monitor very closely. Unfortunately, and I've been on the road to 9 WNBA markets in 3 weeks and have had many, many delays. And I'm not a professional athlete, but summer travel is very, very tough with thunderstorms and Tropical Storm Elsa. And so it's tough, but we're monitoring. People don't think we're monitoring. We're monitoring every flight of every team to every market, and when they would get in and what time the game is. So we're constantly monitoring it. But as you know, through the collective bargaining process in 19 into early 20, we had many discussions with all of our stakeholders and the union about what the best path forward in this collective bargaining agreement based on where we were economically as a league and the teams. And so we continue to look at it, Kareem, and we continue to monitor it. I wish we had an economic model that supported what I know we all want here. But we don't have that today, and we're working. That's why the transformation of this league and the teams is really important to move that forward, whether it's in the next collective bargaining or even sooner than that. So it's something we're monitoring all the time. And summer travel, if for all of you that have traveled in thunderstorms, especially when you go O'Hare to New York or Indy to New York, and it's tough. I actually got diverted while in air after 90 minutes in the air to Cleveland the other day on my way to Newark. So nothing easy about summer travel, but we do monitor it, and we do, take very seriously the health and safety of our players. And that's why in 19 we approved charter travel during the playoffs from west to east, because the players wouldn't have had enough rest, and we want to make sure we're putting on the best product every night on the court. And it is challenging, though, I do admit, but we're monitoring it all the time. Thank you.
Staying on the left side, second row on the aisle.
Commissioner, thank you. Eric Wilson, WKII. Wanted to ask you, now that the WNBA has kind of resumed, have you begun talks or got with your team with regard to expansion and putting more teams in other premier spots, like going back to San Antonio, or even possibly coming to Florida or other states like that?
Yeah, I think the topic of expansion is always something we're thinking about, especially as we see the depth and breadth of the league. We see the globalization of our game, more global players coming into our game. You see, the free agency, and I think what happened in collective bargaining around free agency has been really exciting. But then it doesn't free up as much spots for rookies coming in and players who get drafted. So expansion definitely is on the list. As I told people, I think in advance of draft, I said this would be something I would be talking with you more seriously about if it wasn't for the pandemic. But given that we had no fans last year and limited fans this year, we're evaluating it constantly. I would say about this time next year, we'll be talking a lot more seriously about what that path looks like, how many teams, where, what cities. We have to do very thoughtful analysis, right, about that. And that's what we're working on now. We're starting that analysis, but nothing yet. to commit to, nothing yet to talk about other than I do think I'd like to consider it, when you're only in 12 markets and you're in a country of our size and scale. And there are some cities where you would think a WNBA team would thrive. Those are the things we're going to start looking at, and it'll be data driven. It'll be driven by fans. It'll be driven by the popularity of the game at the college level. All of those factors. There's a lot of things to look at when you try to select where the next best place to put a WNBA team, whether it was a prior WNBA team that market that thrived or a new market where there hasn't been a WNBA team. So we're open to all of those. And I get a lot of suggestions through social media about cities, and I'm sure those will keep coming. But, we listen and we look at all the data. And again, I would say once we get through this season, going into next year, as we come off free agency and the off season, we'll be seriously thinking about what that could look like in the future.
Thank you. To your right, Kathy, in the third row center.
Hey, Commissioner, this is Jackie Powell with Bleacher Report. So this is the first year that you're having All-Star during an Olympic year. So I'm curious as to how open are you to facilitating more events like this in future Olympic years, and what overall league events can we look forward to? Any potential pop culture intersectional type of WNBA events?
Yeah, Jackie, good to see you.
Good to see you
It's a
too.
very good question because yes, we usually don't do an All-Star game in Olympic year. So we didn't have one planned for last year, but then the Olympics got postponed and we had the wobble and no ability to have an All-Star game. It wouldn't have made sense last year. So, and this year obviously is a much more scaled down version, but I'm thrilled that we're having one just being here. And I think you're going to see the energy in the arena tonight. To me, it was really important to have an All-Star game this year, not only for fan engagement, media engagement, but also for the players. It struck me when Sue Bird was in that CarMax commercial talking about how many years she was an All-Star, that, the one thing the NBA doesn't have is that they play one every year. We don't play one every fourth year. So I wanted to make sure these players could call themselves an All-Star this year. And so that's certainly something we'll continue. Other events. So as you know, Commissioner's Cup we introduced this year. We are looking at an additional type of competition, as you said, kind of a festival type format. We're working on that, because we're still not sure where we'll be at this time next year. We're planning, but it's hard to envision whether, how we could come together as a festival, as a first year stand up type of competition. But it's something, again, we committed to ways to find fan engagement, to grow the game, to grow viewers, to grow the players in pop culture, and whether it's music or art or food or different things that I learned in the Wubble that the players are really passionate about. Those are the types of things we'll look at, and we'll partner with the Players Association on hopefully an additional competition, whether that's in 22 or 23, unknown yet, but we're doing a fair amount of planning on what the format would look like, because that was a commitment we made in collective bargaining.
Kathy, staying to the right side in the back row.
Hi, Commissioner. Thank you so much for being here. Christina Williams with Girls Talk Sports TV. My question is in regards to the 3-point contest this year, and what went into the decision to select the players on the roster? And was there any reason why Shakina Strickland was omitted from the roster this year, the defending 3-point champion?
Yeah, so obviously no skills competition this year, just trying to pack everything into today, essentially last night into today, and not having an all-star night the day before just because of COVID and the protocols. And as we were planning, we didn't know where we would be, whether we would even have fans for an all-star game. So that was part of it. And so we said, we think we can, the 3-point competition is usually one of our most popular fan engagement events, and we can hold that at halftime, scaled down version, 4 players. I think we usually have 6 or so. And because players are under protocol here who are here anyway, that is why the players who got selected because they were here anyway. We weren't going to bring players who weren't otherwise all-stars or connected with USAB into the 3-point competition this year. So it's just an unusual year, one that we hope not to repeat, and we can broaden the pool and make sure that players who may not make the all-star team could compete next year in both 3-point and a skills competition. And then there might be other formats we might introduce. We're trying to innovate and think about other ways to introduce. I mean, again, that's why I think 3x3 is going to be exciting to watch, a 10-minute outdoor game. Maybe that's something, we put into one of our competitions in the future. So we're going to try to think broadly and innovate, and then, determine again, which players would be best fan favorites for those type of events. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. We're going to turn now to questions from some of the media folks who are on Zoom, and we're going to begin with Cassandra. Cassandra, go ahead.
Hi, Kathy. When it comes to the Commissioner's Cup, what has your assessment been of fan reaction and excitement around those games? And is there anything that you're already planning on changing or adjusting when it comes to this first year?
Yeah, great question, because this is our first year. So we learned some things about, how to, again, market around Commissioner's Cup. I think you'll see, a different way to market, going into the clinching game. So we were out there marketing the clinching games. Hopefully you picked that up, but we did it a little later than I would have liked. So we'll just continue to look at this as building those conference rivalries and then ultimately, competing for that prize pool. So I think the prize pool really made the players show up during those Commissioner Cup games, but because there were 10 per team, and again, we'll get into a regular regimen as to the format, but I think we have to continue with the 10 because if you're going to try to put it in the first half of the season so you can play the championship in the back half, I think that'll stick. But I think, what I would say my assessment is, marketing, which I talk about a lot. And I talked about when I came into the league, not knowing anything is still something, we need to double down on and make sure that as we grow this into something that the players really compete for, we'll actually have a physical cup. So that'll be cool. And you haven't seen it yet, but you'll see it in August. And I think that'll just become something the players want to vie for. And then, also activating in local markets, Commissioner Cup games. We had so much squeezed into the first half of the season with theme nights and Pride Month and Women's History Month and Black History Month that, again, we would like the Commissioner's Cup also to become part of the social justice platform of the players. And that'll be something you'll see a little more next year in kind of Commissioner Cup 2.0.
Thank you. Our next question, also via Zoom, Charles Holman. Charles, if you would.
Good afternoon, Kathy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Earlier this year, you had mentioned that the importance of the independent Black media involvement of, promoting this league and also involving Black businesses. So I'm asking, is any Black businesses being used in the games today? And also, is there any plans on meeting with independent Black media in some respects? Because with the post-pandemic changes, we're concerned that we might get pushed out, and we want to make sure that our concerns and our issues will be heard as well.
Yeah, so great question, Charles. Good to hear from you. Yes, so we have been doing a variety of things, both activating a lot of the Black medium-sized and small business activation has been locally at the team level, but also at the league level. For instance, we partnered on the healthcare side, because as you may recall, I talked about our social justice council this year having as one of their pillars health inequities, particularly in communities of color. So we've been partnering with organizations who focus on health inequity in communities of color. And one of those was a vaccine effort that we did. We partnered with an organization and Walmart to bring vaccines into communities. And so, yes, Charles, we continue to look for opportunities to engage with Black-owned businesses. We continue our efforts around our diversity and coaching initiative, our diversity in staff initiative here at the league and at the teams. So there's not a meeting that goes by where I and others on my team don't ask questions about making sure that we retain our focus on making sure we're engaging with Black-owned businesses. And I know, again, our teams, there's probably a long list. I haven't inventoried it all, but we're constantly getting updates from our board of governors, our owners, and our team presidents on their efforts around this. And again, at every meeting with our board of governors, we talk about, engaging with Black-owned businesses and our diversity and coaching initiative.
Okay, staying with Zoom, our next question will come from Pepper Pursley. Pepper, if you would.
Hi, Kathy. It's so great to see you. So I know I'm not the only kid who is loving the new WNBA gear, but some of the coolest stuff is not in kid sizes. So are there any plans to come out with more WNBA apparel in kid sizes to continue to expand the fan base to kids? And what other ways are you looking to continue to make the WNBA more interesting and more available to kids?
Great, Pepper. Thanks for your question. Merchandise, I know from my first 12-city tour and even my tour of the 9 markets of the 12 so far this year, how important merchandise and in all sizes, kid sizes and everything. So we've been working with our merchandise partners. I hope you saw now the ball is available, the WNBA ball, which was not available at retail other than maybe on Amazon last year, and Spalding is now available not only on wilson.com, but also it's available at Dick's. It's available at Walmart, I believe, and we're trying to get that into more retail because that's a big symbol of the brand. And if a young girl can go into a Dick's and see the WNBA ball there, I mean, it's a huge brand builder. But we are working on trying to get more youth merch. I do think Fanatics in the WNBA store, there is more youth merch than there was last year. I know it's not good enough, but we're still working on a holistic merchandise strategy that makes sure that we're covering all the requests. I know people want more shorts, people want socks, people want the headbands that the players wear. So I get a lot of requests for merchandise, and I think it's great because that is part of the brand and it's part of building the brand. And it's great that our fans are so passionate about having access to merchandise when they want it, in the sizes they want. So yes, Pepper, it's definitely part of what we're working on. And hopefully you've seen some difference because I've at least seen a lot more merch, especially with our 25th anniversary merch, which I've seen a fair amount of people walking around Las Vegas in. So that's pretty cool. And kind of coming into next year, then in our 26th year, we'll be doing some more things around merch and broadening, the selection, I'll call it. So thank you for the question, Pepper.
Kathy, also on Zoom, Erica Ayala. Erica, you're up, please.
Thank you so much. Commissioner, always good to see you. Love that you're rocking your orange.
I didn't know I'd have an orange background though, so I kind of clashed with the background.
You're making it work. It's fine. But I have two, if you would indulge me. One is in Las Vegas, through the history that they've had in the league, I've noticed that they've been inviting players from all three of the different iterations of the franchise to Aces games. And I'm just curious to, if you could tell us a little bit more, and I know you touched on this in your opening, but what are some of the activations that the alumna of the WNBA are being involved in? How are they going to be honored in this historic season and maybe even beyond? And then I also wanted to ask you, the Seattle Storm will eventually get to share an arena with the Seattle Kraken, and they'll officially have the most banners in Climate Pledge Arena. Is there any plans to maybe have events at some of the arenas that are new and renovated for fans on events like All-Star or maybe other things like that?
Yeah, so first to address, I just met with Mark Davis, one of our new owners this year of the Las Vegas Aces yesterday. And obviously I've known about the effort to look at their legacy and history from when they were in San Antonio and Utah, and bring that 25-year anniversary together and bring back some of the legends that they have. I think it's been fabulous. I think if you look at the Liberty in Phoenix and LA, they also have been original franchises around for 25 years. They're doing a fair amount of there. We're doing a fair amount of here, bringing back the 96 Olympic team, who, basically when they won that gold medal, that triggered the formation of the WNBA and the launch of the WNBA a year later. So that's pretty cool. Some of them were here. I met some of them last night. And legendary names. So I do think it's important. What we're trying to do in this 25th season is balance the players today and building them into household names and rivalries with the history of the league as well. And Val Ackerman will be here later. We celebrate her, and she'll go into the Naismith Hall of Fame, this year. So, we just have so much to celebrate and so much history now that we've been around 25 years, to pick up on and to market. So I'm thrilled that the teams are taking that on. And yes, Seattle, we're really looking forward to the arena being completed and Seattle Storm getting their home back. And so I think, obviously we look forward to when that happens. I think next year it's scheduled for, and certainly we'll evaluate where we do our events at different times of year. And as we add competitions and things like that, Seattle would definitely, be something on the list for that, over time. So, we are constantly looking at where to hold events, where we think, so Phoenix is where we're hosting our inaugural Commissioner Cup this year, because we know Phoenix just renovated their arena. And, they really know how to put on events. I was out there for a game a couple of weeks ago, and it's going to be great. I didn't know Phoenix Suns were going to be in the NBA finals when we selected that, but I think that's great too, because basketball is so popular and so hot in Phoenix right now. And it is so hot in Phoenix right now. So, but yeah, so certainly we'll look at the new arena in Seattle. We're really excited for them to come back home into Seattle.
Thank you. Our next question, also Zoom, Takeshi Shibata.
Hello, Commissioner. My name is Takeshi Shibata. I'm calling from Tokyo, Japan. And thank you for your time. I'm curious about how much you want to open up a mutual conversation about much more activated interactions between the WNBA and our own domestic Japanese basketball women's league. What do you think about it?
Yeah, so great question. And, we're really rooting for you all in Tokyo with the Olympics in a week or so with the opening ceremony. So good luck with that. But absolutely. So you may not know this, but right before the pandemic, I met with some of the leadership of basketball in Japan. And again, as I think about how we grow our fan base, it has to have a global element to it. And we have to globalize our game, and we have to bring the WNBA into markets where now our players are coming from, being drafted into the league, and we're having increasing amount of international players in the WNBA. So absolutely, always open to discussions. Have been doing that with some of the federations already, and did meet with Japan, and then the pandemic hit. I think it was like 2 weeks later. So, that kind of, cooled discussions for a while, but yeah, we'd love to restart those discussions and talk about, again, how we can build and grow this game globally, the women's game globally. So thank you for your interest. And again, good luck. And I hope everything goes great in Tokyo.
Just one quick follow-up. Are you coming to Japan here this summer?
Not now. I was planning to, and I had, arrangements, but obviously we got word that we, shouldn't come because no international fans. So, and I would be considered a fan, even though I'm the commissioner of the WNBA, I'd be considered a fan. So I will not be there, but I'll be rooting very heavily here from the United States.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. Staying on Zoom, Lindsay Dunn. Lindsay, go ahead.
Hi, Commissioner. Lindsay Dunn from City News in Toronto, Canada. And I actually just have 2 questions about merchandise. And with 8 first-time All-Stars, I know a lot of people wanted to buy merchandise. Why isn't there any merchandise online right now for the All-Star game? And then you talk about kind of building household names, but with some of the athletes I've spoke to, the legends of the WNBA, they kind of felt they've been forgotten about, especially when you go online and say you type in Elisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, or Tamika Catchings, their name doesn't come up with any merchandise. Has there been any discussion for potentially doing celebratory merchandise for the legends of the game?
Yeah, so again, great questions. I know how passionate everyone is about merch. I know how important it is for the brand. I think we've been working on the 25th anniversary aspect of merchandise this year, the new ball, the new Nike uniform. So we've actually had a lot of upgrades and things in merch. But I mean, you make a very good point about the legends of the game. Obviously, we're trying to integrate the legends. We have Lisa Leslie and Tina Thompson as co-head coaches for Team WNBA today. We have the 96 Olympic team. But yes, it's a good thing. I will take that back around merchandise for legends and make sure that, if that's something we think will sell and promote the brand and grow the game, that's something we'd be willing to invest in as well with our merchandise partners. So thank you for the suggestion. And, I will bring that back and we'll take a look at it. Thank you.
And we have time for one more question. Kathy, that will come from the right side of the room in the 3rd row.
Kathy, Chandel, Jennings with The Athletic. Good to see you in
Great
person.
to see you.
NIL, name, image, and likeness laws have gone into effect across the country this month. I'm curious how much that's something you're monitoring. Obviously, it's at the college level, but how much are you kind of tracking that? And ultimately, what do you think that will mean to the growth of women's basketball as a whole?
Yeah, it's a great question, and so great to see you live rather than on Zoom. It's a great question. So what's really interesting to me about the NIL, and I've been studying it since, when I first came into the league, I think one of my first interviews on ESPN, they're like, what do you think about the NIL? And I didn't even know what that was, by the way. So I've learned a lot over a couple of years. And I think I'm really interested now because I've done this assessment over the past 18 months or so of the valuation of women's sports assets, not just WNBA, patch on the uniform, placement on the court, a media right fee deal, an NIL, name, image, likeness for a college player. And there's very popular college players right now. As you know, 2 of them have a higher social media following than any of the men's NCAA basketball players. So, I mean, it'll be very interesting, absolutely monitoring. I think this could be a very good thing for as they come into their professional careers into the WNBA to already have partnerships with companies who want to elevate their brand. So I think it can only help. I do have some worries that, again, because I'm pretty sure women's sports are undervalued in the marketplace, that'll happen as well in the college game compared to obviously the big business of college football and college basketball, and other sports as well. But, I think net is going to be a huge positive for women's sports, for players who then continue their professional career. And one of my goals also is to do a better job of integrating them from a brand perspective and raising their brand value once they come in as a professional basketball player from the college ranks. So from that perspective, to me, this will be a huge positive, but we're monitoring it. And it'll be really interesting to see, what ultimate future WNBA players are able to, how they're able to enhance their brand through the name, image, likeness rules now.
All right, thank you, Kathy. And thank you to our media members here in attendance and also on Zoom. As a reminder, today's press conference will be available via transcript on WNBA Media Central and also available audio and video on the NBA Content Network. As a reminder for your tweets this afternoon, please remind everybody, the AT&T WNBA All-Star 2021, ESPN, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.